Hey, all right, and welcome back to Businessman's Guide to Almost Everything, the show where I, your host, Cole Brzezinski, get to sit down with interesting people. We get to explore their fields, what makes them tick, and what keeps them from losing their business. So today with me, Sergey, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Sergey Basantsev. I'm an account manager for First American. We are a corporate startup here and kind of a corporate project for First American, and we provide title and escrow services.
So title and escrow services. I'm of a generation where people my age haven't had a whole lot of opportunities to buy real estate. So perhaps we don't know what title and escrow is. Can you explain for us what that is?
Sure. In a nutshell, if I was to just sum it up, we are the neutral third party in a real estate transaction. That is the primary role. That's how we get our income. We do other roles, of course, but that's typically what we do. We play the neutral party for the buyer and the seller when they purchase, sell, or then refinance.
Gotcha. So First American, you said it was a corporate startup?
Yeah. So me and so a little background for me. I started my career in the industry with one competitor and really quickly moved on to the other because there's only two players in town. And it's a corporate startup because First American was in town a long time ago. And typically they come and they purchase a local title company and said, "You're now First American." We kind of broke out on our own and said, "Hey, let's, from zero market share, let's just do something on our own." And so from them, that's kind of a risk. And for us, it was kind of a fun jump. But that's why, it's a corporate startup because we are backed by First American. They just didn't have a presence here.
So you said that there were two main fellas in this field?
For many years.
So doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of competition then.
No, not a lot.
All right. Is there a reason why there aren't more people just starting up their own title and escrow companies?
Good question. There are some. It is a legal service we provide, so there is some steps to hoops to jump through. But really, where a title company becomes valuable is with their title plant, and that's what we call the back history of land. And so that is the valuable one. That is the valuable piece that locally, if you had a title company here who went down to the courthouse back in 1890s, because that's how long some of the old books are. We call them oldie moldies because some of these books, hundreds of years old, and they were written by hand on, this is the U.S. patent, this is who got the 120 acres. And then we could track that 120 acres to that first purchaser down to present day.
Oh, gosh. So it's not a new business then?
Nope, not at all.
All right. So you were saying that you're the neutral third party in real estate. So everyone eventually has to come to you.
Yes.
Do you guys find that you guys are like a fun group of people to work with, or are realtors kind of like, they're all kind of the same and I don't really trust them? They're like insurance agents and lawyers. Good
question, because we're a little different than insurance agents.
Okay. All right.
And yet we play a little bit of a role of legal services. And so our escrow officers have a license, as a LPO, so limited practicing officer. And they can prepare and do real estate transaction type legal services. And so when you, as a real estate agent, we do provide, at the end of the day, the house closes, it sells. But it really matters on who you're working with.
Gotcha.
That relationship.
So if I had a piece of property and I was just to sell it to my cousin, do I eventually have to come to you anyways?
If you're selling to your cousin, you don't have to.
Gotcha.
Yep, you could absolutely sell it, get the deed recorded with the county, and that is what conveys property. And so you go down the courthouse, you get it recorded, the deed, and then that is this transfer of ownership.
Oh, okay.
Now, and that happens all the time between family members.
That probably is just not the bulk of people that are doing real estate transactions.
Correct. Because every lender wants a title policy when they insure on a purchase or a refi, because they want to know that they're in first position to lend. And so every buyer who's buying a house on the market says, hey, I want to make sure that I'm going to be the rightful owner. That everything that I'm purchasing it knowing what my rights are and how they're limited. And that's where title becomes an essential piece.
That's interesting, because I was just hearing something. This was a few weeks ago, but there's like some rising kind of theft, I guess is how you would categorize it. But people are like finding these properties that people are living in, like their houses. But then there's somehow messing with the titles and selling it while the family's still living in the house. And all of a sudden they get a notification one day that their house isn't theirs anymore. And now someone's just bought it.
Sure. Anyone could record a deed. So I could give you the deed to the courthouse. We could record it. We could give it the power. We could give it all the language, all the descriptions, have my signature, but it's only worth what I'm conveying. I'm conveying zero of my interests. So there is an element where people do try to defraud, and it does happen, but it's not easily done.
Gotcha.
To remove ownership from someone, it's more complicated than that. So there are there's different ways for fraud to occur than to record a deed that removes someone.
So it's probably not something that's happening every day to your neighbor.
Not every, no.
Fair enough.
No, yeah.
Okay, so getting back into the general industry here, because we're in Whatcom County, that's Northwest Washington, we're up against the Canadian border. How large would you say these other title and escrow companies are? Are these companies of like 10 people, or are they 50 to 100?
Oh, good question. So having worked at both of them, I know that they're, what was the range? 10 to 50?
Yeah, like 10, 50.
Yeah, between 40 and 60 is what they run. Especially with the high season peaks and how it was. And with market share, they all had, it's been so even and it balances, 10, 5 here that they operate very similarly with the staff.
Interesting. So I know we were going to talk about this a little bit later, but we're talking about these companies that are in the same field. Since it's playing with legal stuff, it doesn't feel like you have a lot of room to really personalize yourself.
Correct.
All these laws are coming in. So are they just like different shades of the same color, or are there substantial differences?
They are different shades of the same color.
Gotcha.
Because there are only 3 policies a buyer can get. There's only 2 or 3 on a refinance they can get. The American Land Title Association is a national type organization that dictates how every title company issues. And there's really only 3 or 4 title companies that issue their own paper. First American being one of us. Like, we have our own. We write our own policies.
Okay.
And again, there's only 3 for buyers. And so it's different shades of the same thing.
Okay. So really, I guess, just comes down to like who you know there and if you trust them.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That puts a lot on your plate then, I suppose.
A little.
Yeah.
And, I'm realizing that leadership matters a lot. And so does support. Like, you could go very fast by yourself, but you could go further with a group of people. And I always relate this to like lending. Like, a lender needs to be available for like my phone call or your phone call if you're asking questions. But if they're the processor, if they're the underwriter, if they're the funder, they're doing all these other tasks that don't make you available. So there's a difference in business practice and structure that matters. But you only see that once you're in the works of it, where you're like, oh, our platform with First American makes our escrow closer available for her phone calls. And that's based on, hey, the structure of our process is standardized. And they're like, no, the value of your role is to be available. You're the people.